Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. My name is Liam, and this is a post weigh-in show. We don't normally do this, but we weren't able to touch base with our guy Wizz MMA yesterday on the show. I know a lot of people were asking, "Hey, where's brother Wizz?" No problem. We had a great guest step up, Pepe Silvia, the King of New York. Glad to have him on the show. Today, we're doing the post weigh-in show for UFC 317. So we'll talk about these weigh-in results, and we'll do it with a great guest that you all know and love, Wizz MMA, back in the building. How are you, my brother?
My people, how we feeling? No, I've been good, bro. Just spending the last couple of days with my parents. They're back out of the country tomorrow, so that's why I've been all over the place this week. But trying to get as much as I can in today. I'll go speed run through the last couple of fights. I probably won't make it through the whole card. But then we're back to the regularly scheduled programming starting next week. Back to normal. But excited to break these fights down, especially now that we already know one of the fights is off between Jackson McVeigh and Ewert. So no need to explain that one. I didn't really have much to offer there. I'm not going to say that I taped Ewert in depth at all. So I'm kind of glad he missed weight.
Fair play, my man. I honestly, I was starting to tape both guys. I did have like a little bit of an idea, but I felt like we were working with a lot of unknowns. I'll just let people know, if you are not aware, Ewert missed weight by about 10 pounds. He was cut from the UFC before the weigh-in even happened. They basically just looked at the guy. He said, "I'm not going to make it." They were like, "Thanks anyways, man." He was supposed to fight on Contender Series in August. So I thought that it was kind of surprising he was favored, right? I was looking at a guy who was not preparing for a fight, was preparing for a fight in the future, right? Like a long time away. Normally, guys peak their conditioning for a contest, right? And he had no opportunity to do that. He got the call on like Tuesday. So I'm not even blaming the guy for missing the weight. It's just, probably a better idea. And maybe your manager should tell you, "Hey, we have a shot on Contender Series. Let's just do that instead of taking this fight and missing weight and maybe costing yourself a contract and an opportunity." So hopefully that's not the case for Ewert. But on the other side, guys, McVeigh did nothing wrong. My guy Dixon says, "What happened to McVeigh?" I don't think anything, bro. I think he was probably ready to weigh in and cool in the gang, and then they told him, like, "Hey, man, it's not happening." So ultimately, guys, we will have to proceed without that one, right? But we still have plenty of great fights to talk about. Last night on the show on Bets and Banter, we normally start with the first fight of the night. That's what Ewert and McVeigh was supposed to be. I think we should flip it around this time, and we'll start with the main event of the evening, my brother. Just in terms of what people are looking to talk about. The first man to the scale was none other than Ilia Topuria. I'm going to get this brought up on the screen as well so people can see. But Ilia Topuria, in my opinion, looks like he's in great shape. Looks like he's ready to rumble this week. Sly smile on the scales. Nothing too crazy, but the guy did seem like he is ready for prime time at 155 pounds. And his opponent, we will scroll to Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira. The champion has a name. It's Charles Oliveira. But will it still be on Saturday night? That's where we get our answers. Wiz, I haven't heard your thoughts on this main event, my brother. I'll kick it to you. What do you think?
Yes, so the obvious thing in the room here is that Ilia Topuria relinquished his belt at featherweight, and he's moving up to lightweight this time, facing former champ Charles Oliveira. And in a really exciting fight where a lot of the public opinion and I won't say casual because it seems like that term's a little disrespectful. We'll just keep that for the rest of us. But we have someone in Charles Oliveira who's really a fan favorite, someone who gets into the octagon and really likes to get into the fire, and he's okay with that. And he's able to knock you out on the feet. He's able to submit you on the ground if it gets there. And he also is very susceptible to eating a lot of punches and taking a lot of damage on the feet. He hasn't really been put in too much danger on the mat in his UFC career. But on the feet is where we usually tend to see him struggle, or maybe not struggle, but maybe his chin is what fails him. And we have a guy in Ilia Topuria who just happens to hit very hard. We heard from a bunch of different guys from multiple different gyms saying how Ilia Topuria's power feels like a 170-pounder power, a welterweight, and how he's one of the hardest hitting people in the room always. So that's a concern here for Charles Oliveira on the feet. I do also just think that Ilia Topuria's skill for skill is the much better striker here in all facets of striking. Charles Oliveira has the power, and he's fast, and he has that dynamicism, can kick high, So you can mix it up in the striking, but I just think that Ilia Topuria's boxing is so maybe not underrated, but overlooked at times. I think the way he changes levels in between combinations, in between the hard one to the body, goes back up to the head with the hook, and then back to the kidney with the right hook to the body. It's you don't really see too many people shift that way in the striking, and it's just something that I really admire, and it's something that will take you far in mixed martial arts, and this is why Ilia Topuria is here at the biggest stage of them all. I think Ilia Topuria's boxing is going to be a big problem for Charles Oliveira, and I personally am predicting a first-round knockout for Ilia Topuria. I think the body shots for Ilia Topuria are going to be wide open here because Charles Oliveira has that long torso. And when you look at Charles Oliveira, when he gets hit to the body, his hands start to drop, leaving that chin exposed. I think he's going to come back up with that same combination that he knocked out Jai Herbert with to knock out Charles Oliveira here. You heard it here first.
You know, I'm looking for a tweet right now that kind of shows some of the flaws defensively from Charles Oliveira. And I believe it was Miguel Class on Twitter that showed, you know, a lot of times Charles ends up reaching. So you talked about the long body. He likes to reach out for that collar tie. He likes to grab a hold of people and like reach to grab their hands and stuff. A lot of that brings his hands away from his body. He normally either keeps a very high guard or he's reaching out to get the clinch. And in both cases, that opens up your body to big strikes, right? I do think I've said all week, like I can't really envision the way that Charles would win this fight. After thinking about it a lot, I think the only way I could like see Charles winning this fight is if he clips Ilia with something, right? Like hits him with a knee up the middle, hits him with a head kick, something like that. Ilia's natural reaction is to shoot. You know, like a lot of guys, when they get hurt in any way, their natural reaction is to shoot. And you can go back and watch him get hurt on the regional scene, instantly shoot a takedown. You could watch him get hurt in the UFC against Jai Herbert, instantly shoots a takedown. Like he hadn't even gotten up. He was like on his butt and just like shoots a double leg from his butt, you know? It is a natural defensive reaction. Hey, let me get a hold of this guy. Let me recompose myself. Let me take a breath here. The problem is, you and I both know, it's not the same to just jump on Charles Oliveira when you're hurt. You know, I think that if these two guys are sober, the grappling is like anybody's to win, right? Like I think people might sleep on Ilia's pure grappling pedigree. He's phenomenal. But on the other side, it's like if you start grappling somebody and you're not in your right state of mind, you're going to look a little bit more amateurish, right? We've heard the expression before. You take a black belt, you punch him in the face one time, he's a brown belt, right? And it's like we keep going down that rabbit hole. I think that Ilia Topuria, as long as he doesn't get buzzed or hurt, probably can hang in the submission grappling. But if he gets buzzed or hurt and shoots a takedown, like dives in on him, that I think is the way that Charles would win this fight. He's got to clip him. He's probably got to submit him after doing so. That would be the way I could see him winning this fight. But otherwise, man, I just think he's in a really tough matchup. He's got a guy who's young, in great shape. His confidence is amazing. His wrestling, very good. His striking, outstanding. There's a lot of check boxes on that side, you know, and Charles is the bigger guy, championship pedigree, a lot of experience. Those are the things I would put in his direction, his category, but ultimately styles make fights. Timing is everything in mixed martial arts. And I think right now, Charles Oliveira is post-prime, unfortunately. And I think Ilia Topuria is just rounding into his prime right now at 28 years of age. So I think this is going to be a finish for Ilia Topuria. I'll say in the first 3 rounds. The only difference I would say is I think he could definitely knock him out. We know how devastating his power is, but Charles is one of these guys that when he gets hit, like by default, sometimes it fits like a more than glancing blow. He's like, let me just hit the deck for a second, take a breath on that, recompose myself. And most guys just show him a lot of respect, right? Like they don't want to go down there, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, drop him, let him get a couple breaths on the ground, let him recompose himself. He gets back up and beats him, right? I don't think Ilia is doing any of that shit. If he drops him, I think he'll fall to the ground, whether it's ground and pound, whether it's looking to get a submission of his own. We know that head and arm choke been a reoccurring problem, let's say, right? Where Ilia did it to Bryce because Bryce got hurt, shot a bad shot, right? Charles got hurt against Islam, locked in a half of baked, little head and arm choke, and he was like, yeah, you know what? Thanks anyways, man. Let's get out of here and live to fight another day. And I don't like those kind of dynamics for him coming into this main event. But we got 2 takes. Let's see if we can make it 3 for 3. JB in the building, MMA, Jewish better. Nobody do it better. Welcome aboard, my brother.
What's going on, bro? How you doing? Trying to get my
Doing
stuff
well
set
today.
up.
My guy,
Nice.
how we feeling?
How's it going, bro? How's the training going, Wiz?
So far, so good, my brother. Gonna
Nice.
be stepping it up next week.
Let's go, man. You're on fire, bro, with the coaching and the betting, and everything is just coming together for my man Wiz. So shout out to him. Shout out to my man Liam as well.
Much love, brother. Can't take too much credit. The last 2 weeks have been a little tough, but
Dude,
looking to bounce back this week.
Two weeks, bro. Like 2 weeks, man. We're talking about 2 weeks, bro.
Shout out Yanni the Greek.
Right.
When in
That's
doubt, zoom out.
That's it. Dude, like, somebody hit me up this way. Like, I'm on a skid, but like they're like 10% ROI this year. I'm like, dude, you're doing fine, bro. Just go back to the drawing board, see what you could improve on, and that's it.
Slow and steady wins the race. My brother, what you think about this main event? Is there a pick to click here, or should we pass on this one and live to watch this one play out?
I mean, I think you could live to watch it play out, but I think there is like some good prices on the board. I like unders here. That's like something we talked about a little bit earlier in the weekend, just something that I generally like. I mean, Charles, I've seen him fight time and time again where the fight could have been done in the first round, or it gets done in the first round. So I could see this going on under 1.5. I don't hate that price at all. And I really like the under 2.5. I don't see this fight going all over 13.5 minutes with how dangerous Ilia is. Charles can be hurt. We've seen Ilia hurt before too. It's not impossible. Charles catches a big shot. So unless somebody's just having a lot of wrestling success over and over here again, it's just hard for me to see this fight going past that point, unless you could change my mind. So I like a little minus 175 there. I'm not going crazy on it, but come on.
Yeah, man, I actually mentioned as well on the stream yesterday with Pepe, I felt the same way. You're looking at a market average price, and I'll zoom in a little bit so folks can see this a little more clearly. But this is from OddsJam, right? This is a free thing that I use to just check odds in comparison to one another. Minus 175, best available price. I believe that's over at DraftKings. You're looking at a minus 215 market average. So the market average is almost 5% higher than what they're selling it at. So does that mean that DraftKings is right or wrong? No, it doesn't. But typically speaking, I'd rather be on the side that most of the market has shaded towards than the opposite of that, right? So when I'm looking at this fight, I like the under 2.5 in principle as well. I haven't gotten there. DraftKings, first of all, doesn't let me play. So I'd have to be a little more creative, look around, see if there's other options out there. But when you look at, what's interesting about this is like Charles has been an under 2.5 printer basically his entire career, right? If we go to his Tapology page for Charles Oliveira, he's had 6 fights go to decision in a 45 fight pro career. So the guy is he's not really about long fights, and many of those fights obviously were not of the title level, right? So what does that mean? They weren't scheduled for 25 minutes. They were scheduled 15 minutes and they're not making it the full 15. So for me, that's the kind of signal that I like here. The only issue I have with the under in principle, and the only reason I haven't clicked it yet or like sought it out a little bit more, Ilia, his best attribute, in my opinion, is patience. He does not force any finish. He does not go out there and rush it. He just takes his time, and when you make a mistake, he capitalizes right there. And that's for me. Like, I think Charles is the one that brings the dynamic violence and the action to a lot of his fights. But if I was coaching Charles, I'd be like, hey, man, if you get hit by this guy, the fight might be over shortly thereafter. So you've got to be really careful all the way in, all the way out, use your long range tools, get him in the clinch. And those are some things that might work against the under. So like to paint the bullish case as well as the bearish case, how it could go wrong. But For me, again, it's about price, right? If you're laying the minus 215, minus 225, you're talking about a 70% price tag, whereas you're selling it for less than 65% on DraftKings. So I do like that. Anything else that you guys want to talk about on this main event before we move on to the next fight, fellas?
I just got attacked by a bug, man. I don't know what happened.
Oh, shit. My man is under fire right now. But let us bring it to this co-main event of the evening then. We've got Alexandre Pantoja taking on Kai Kara France. Don't blink, because we got the flyweight co-main event, and we're talking about it right now. I'm going to kick it first to my brother, MMA Jewish bettor. Why don't you lead us off, my man? What you got on this co-main event? I believe we're on the same side here, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, I'm trying to Hold on. Join the chat. Oh, no. You're able to bring it up now. Oh, boy. This is weird. I have, like, no way to get this off of my screen. Yeah, I like Kai here. Like, I mean, dude, at the end of the day, Pantoja is one of the best grapplers I've seen. Oh, my God. Everyone's laughing at me. All good. All good. Dude, I like Kai here. Just underdog price. I think the lines went down a bit since I got him. I just looked at the fight, right off rip. Younger fighter, more experience, 88% takedown defense. And he's efficient in the striking numbers. Pantoja, 35. And he's on a roll, dude. Don't get me wrong, but I think at some point he's gonna get beat. And I think this is a good chance to do it. It's a rematch of a fight that, Pantoja originally won, but it may be similar in some ways. Like, obviously, Pantoja is going to be trying to get it to the ground. If this is a 15 or a 25-minute kickboxing fight, I mean, Kai's going to definitely cover this price tag. So, yeah, I don't expect that. I expect it to hit the ground at some point, but I do think Kai has really good sub defense. We've seen him fight out of some deep rear naked chokes. That being said, Pantoja is, the one when it comes to some of these positions. So, yeah, I like Kai at the underdog price tag. I think Pantoja should probably be like let's say minus 150, just because he's durable. He's been on a fucking streak. His grappling is some of the best in MMA, and it's not like he's a complete slouch in the striking. I just think Kai's a lot sharper, and he presents more danger on the feet just with the power.
I love where your head's at, my man. I'm going to show really quick on the screen, guys, the market averages, right? And again, this is just a way that I like to look at this. Earlier in the week, when I bet Kai Kara-France, he was plus 225, right? And it was available on multiple books. I'll note that as well. I got it on Novig. You can, look around. It was on Rivers. It was on a couple different places. I think ESPN bet peaked around that price as well. I watched the market throughout the week, right? And one thing I noticed was there was sharp resistance on Bet Online when this number hit plus 230. So they opened plus 215, goes up to about plus 230. That was the peak across the market. You don't really see many places going above that. Maybe a plus 235, a plus 240. They all got cracked, right? And for me, I look at how is, topology, things like that. I'm seeing a lot of people love the Pantoja side, yet the line is coming down slightly. I'll note that at the time that I placed the bet, it was plus 225. The market average was plus 208. The market average is down to plus 196. The best available price is down to plus 210. It's chased that market average. So just something, if you guys want to find odds that beat the closing lines, it doesn't guarantee they'll win, right? The fighter has to go out and do their job. But that's what I try and do, is I try and find good lines on fighters that I think have skills to win fights. And doesn't work one-to-one. It's not a perfect science, but that's the way I try and play it. That's the reason I found a lot of productive underdogs in my day. And when I look at KKF, he's got great takedown defense. He's got excellent power on the feet. He's defensively responsible when he's in grappling situations, and he's getting better over time. He's 32 years of age. Confidence, I would say, is at an all-time high. He just knocked out a inter-regional rival. And by the way, how did Pantoja deal with that guy? He was one fucking bad mistake from his opponent away from losing that fight. Urseg fucking, kind of a dummy move. And then he got dummied by Kai Kara-France the next fight out. So no disrespect. Like, it's just, for me, guys that are both competitive, guys that are both good fighters. Why not? Kai Kara-France, don't blink on it. What do you think about this one, Wiz? Are we out to lunch, or does Kai Kara-France have a chance to become new?
Yeah, I mean, these first few fights, just going from top to bottom, they really favor my style of breakdowns because it's a lot of striking-based matchups, and I love it. Kai Kara-France, we already know what he comes to the cage with, and he offers heavy overhands, really solid boxing, and what I like about Kai Kara-France is his footwork. When he hits someone, he's ducking and moving out of the way and hitting him with something else from a different angle. So you see it coming from different angles, and you start to not know where to expect these strikes to come from, which is going to make it a little bit harder. And against a guy like Alexandre Pantoja, I'm not going to say he's a bad striker at all. I think he's a good striker, actually. Most people like to talk about his jiu-jitsu more than the striking, but I do think that his striking is more than just meat and potatoes, and I think he is able to hang on the feet with the best of them. But what he lacks is striking defense, and we saw it against Steve Urseg, where he kept getting hit with that right hand, and if that happens in this fight, it just gives Kai Kara-France that much more equity to land the knockout blow, or at least to create damage to loom large in the eye of the judges. So in the striking, I do see this as one-way traffic, to be honest. I think Pantoja is going to be able to land a couple of strikes, obviously, but I think Kai Kara-France is a little bit too fast on the defensive side. And the counters are something that Pantoja is going to have to be wary of, similar to how Kai Kara-France is going to have to be wary of getting too overzealous with the striking and landing on his back, because that's going to be his issue. So Pantoja wants to try and avoid the firefight, and Kai Kara-France has to avoid getting himself in bad positions where he is more susceptible to be taken down. And Pantoja's takedowns are pretty good. But Kai Kara-France, if there is one thing that he's shown improvement in, is his get-up game. So I do expect that Pantoja will find success early on in the fight in getting control and keeping Kai Kara-France on the mat, maybe in the first round to round and a half. But as the fight goes on, I think Kai Kara-France is going to be able to get up. I think he's going to be a little bit more successful with his get-ups, just due to the overall energy expenditure from the Pantoja side. And we've seen Pantoja time and time again show that, yes, his cardio is maybe not the best, and you see him huffing and puffing in the 4th and 5th round, but he pushes through it well. I think Kai Kara-France's cardio is actually pretty decent too. We have not really seen it too much in the later rounds, but it's something that we're going to find out. I do think that this fight does extend, but I do think that Kai Kara-France lands the more damage, is able to defend the takedowns, stay safe when he does get taken down and controlled, to win a very close decision. I think maybe a
48-47?
48-47.
Splitsville?
Yeah, but I do see Kai Kara-France coming out on top here. So dogger pass, but for me, I think this is a fight where I would much rather enjoy it as a fan and stay on the sidelines.
Yeah, I think that the reason there's value on the line is because of this sentiment. KKF shouldn't be getting a title shot yet, says Jake in the chat. Also, my guy Monotone, who I really respect, says knockout or bust flyweight against an iron shin over 5 rounds seems like a tough sell to me. Well, let me try a little bit harder then. When we look at Kai Kara-France, I'll show you guys the exact reasons why I bet him. Whenever I make a bet on anything, this is the kind of write-up that I do. Kai Kara-France was favored to win 7 fights in a row to start his UFC career. He had a mixed bag of results, right? Not all of them were wins. But in this subsequent time, he's been an underdog 5 times in a row. So he went from being favored 7 times in a row. He's now been a dog 5 times in a row. He's 3-2 over those fights, and he got robbed against Amir Albazi. So that would be 4-1 as an underdog if he had been adjudicated fairly, right? You look at a guy like Pantoja. Not a lot of guys get a second crack, right? Moreno, I would argue, got closer over time, right? But the problem was he just couldn't close the gap on him, right? He had several opportunities. He could never fully close the gap on him. KKF has had a lot more time in between fights to try and improve on his skill set. He fought this guy like 9 years ago on The Ultimate Fighter. And then when you look at their power on the feet, in fewer UFC fights, right? 12 UFC fights compared to 16, KKF has double the amount of knockdowns. He's the more powerful striker. I think that that's pretty well established. The stats suggest he gets hit less. He has a much better defense. His takedown defense is actually superior. There's a lot of things to really like about the guy. And here's the other thing. KKF, solid submission defense. He's defended 8 of 9 attempts faced in the UFC. The one time he got caught was after he got knocked down by Brandon Royval twice. And that was a insane fight of the year type 1-round banger. So when I look at this guy, KKF, I think that number one, the Albazi fight was Fugazi. I think that was a clear win, and it was over 5 rounds. Number two, Steve Erceg is, again, a common opponent. I thought, Erceg should have the grappling. He never even had a chance. He didn't even get close to the guy one time. By the way, when he tried to, what did we see from Kai? Really, really smooth clinch breaking, bro. Like, he was not in that clinch for more than 2 seconds, right? The guy tries to grab a hold of him. He goes, ha, ha, digs back his underhooks, pushes him away, and finishes him. And for me, that was all a lot of bullish signals for Kai Kara-France improving over time. I think back in the day, Kai Kara-France would have got wrapped up there. He might not have gotten that finishing sequence. Instead, he said, I know where my bread is buttered. I'm not letting this guy get close. He's from this Chael Sonnen school.
Yeah, I can't let you get close.
Of course, brother. So the last thing I'll note here, the market moves. How about this, guys? Pantoja's propensity to fight close. Urseg, one bad decision away from winning 3-2. Pantoja and Moreno, competitive split decision. Pantona lost to Askar Askarov. KKF beat him in a close fight, right? Outlanded on significant strikes in 7 out of 16 UFC fights. That's very uncommon for a UFC champion. I'll just leave it at that. So again, is Pantoja great? Yes. It's about prices. It's about numbers. I think it's a little bit closer and more honest than this line entails. So that's all. You guys, I always say, God bless and good luck, tail fade or indifferent. So y'all don't have to agree with me, but I'd at least like to steel man my side a little bit, you know?
What about the
Please
Moreno fight too, my man? Like, you know, he was doing good in that. Was he looking knockout or bust there? He got hurt versus another guy who's really durable. But if that fight went to the scorecards, was it KO or bust? Like,
I don't know.
I don't think so. I thought Kai Kara France was winning that shit, bro. And he got caught with a mean body kick and just folded.
I believe, I actually double-checked this. I believe it was dead even. So it was like one judge had him up 2 rounds, one judge had it tied, and one judge had Moreno up 2 rounds.
And then he got knocked out.
One of those fights, you know?
And then he got knocked out, so it didn't matter. But I don't think Pantoja's knocking him out here.
I will say that's the best opportunity, I think, for Pantoja in the striking. Like, his hands are okay, but his kicks are good. And that was where he had success against Kai the first time. If Kai's coaches haven't prepared him for body kicks for this fight, like, just wrap it up, man. Call it a career. But,
that'd be bad.
Yeah, it just seems like that the game plan is pretty obvious for Kai coming into this one. Don't let him take my back, right? Don't let him kick my body, and I can win this fight. That for me seems like the path.
Yeah.
I will say one thing here.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Unrelated to this fight, but related to this division, just to address some of the chat. A lot of people are mentioning Manel Cup. I think that if this is going to be a very hot take, I think if Manel Cup if he becomes the champ at some point in the flyweight division, I think that will be very detrimental to the flyweight division. Let's just put it that way. I think this guy
why? Because he doesn't fight?
I think this guy is one of the most skilled fighters out there, pound for pound. But unfortunately, this guy he's not capable.
He's a head case.
He's a head case. He does stupid shit. He's not healthy, and he does not fight too often. So if Manel Cup ever becomes champion, I think the flyweight division is going to regress for a couple of years because it's just going to be stalled out.
Fair play, my man. One thing I want to note here before we move to another flyweight fight, by the way, guys, because we do have a flyweight featured bout between Joshua Van and Brandon Royval to discuss. The last thing I will note on this co-main event is this right here. Public opinion, guys. Public opinion is all over Pantoja. I have people telling me, the lines in this are begging money on KKF. They've got Charles Oliveira, who's a frankly much bigger star as a plus 300 underdog right next to him on the betting slate. So I don't know that that's exactly the way I interpret these odds, but we'll have to see. You know, if I was looking at this, I would expect the odds to be minus 400 Pantoja, right? If I look at the betting market activity, I'd expect it to be minus 400 Pantoja, and instead it's plus 200, minus 250. So I think that's interesting, but alas, guys, we'll move on to this next fight. And this one is going down, like I said, in the flyweight division. Brandon Royval, Joshua Van. I wanted to see, both these guys step on the scale. Brandon Royval has been dealing with some concussion issues. That for me is definitely a huge concern, fighting somebody like Josh Van, who's going to hit you 150 times in the head. And then on the other side, it's like Josh Van fought 3 weeks ago. We were just talking about Josh Van, and I remember people telling me Bruno Silva's aside. And I was like, I get where you're coming from. And like money line, if you had to pick a side, I agree with you. I just think he's going to get finished and like beat up really badly over the course of the fight. And that's exactly what Josh Van did. Special. I think he's a future champion, but at 23 years of age, does he have enough to pull it off? We'll start with Brother Wizz. What do you think about this one, my man?
One of my favorite fighters on the roster right now, Josh Van. This guy is just, I've doubted him before, I'll be honest, in his first couple of tests against grapplers, against the Charles Johnsons, where he was up before he got knocked out, and then I believe Cody Durden as well. I just tried to fade him a couple of times with these wrestlers, with these grapplers, just, to see where he's at, and he proved me wrong both times, and I accept it. Now I just tend to not doubt the capability of this guy in terms of the takedown defense and in terms of the grappling. Now, have we seen him extended on the mat before? That is where, you know, we have not had that much footage, so we haven't seen too many sub attempts against him. And quite frankly, that's the part that scares me in this fight specifically. But I just don't know how often it's going to be there for Royval, and I don't know how often he's going to be able to take Joshua Van down and hold him down. Because Brandon Royval, if there's anything we know about him, he does not really have the control when it comes to the grappling. He's able to scramble out of some tricky positions when he's on the defensive side. He's able to scramble into some very opportunistic submissions when he's trying to take fighters down. So that's where I worry a little bit on the Josh Van side. But I do think Joshua Van's get-up game is pretty dynamic, and he's very fast with his movement. His initial explosive movement to pop up off of the mat is very quick. He doesn't like to stay on the mat for too long. Now, in the striking, I think this is one-way traffic from Josh Van. I think Brandon Royval in the press conference was mentioning how his striking was going to be able to compete. Or I don't know if it's a press conference or in one of the embedded episodes, but I just don't see it. Brandon Royval's striking is what I would like to call meat and potatoes. It's very, he throws a lot of straight punches with his cool. He has a little bit of a wonky hook, and he has like long arms, so it's to his benefit. But with those long arms is the ability to, for opponents to counter over the top. And I think Joshua Van here is going to be able to counter over the top. But more importantly, I think Royval is going to get hit to the body a lot because his hands are always very close to his face, hiding that high guard. I think Van is going to be able to expose the body of Royval and mix in the levels in striking, similar to how I was mentioning with the Ilia Topuria boxing narrative, where he works all the angles from the body to the head to the leg kicks. And last fight, we saw Joshua Van throw a lot more leg kicks than he usually does. So I think that's going to also be to his benefit here against someone, Brandon Royval, who's going to also look to shoot and explode off of his front lead leg. All in all, I'm picking Josh Van to win this fight. Do I think it's going to be one-way traffic? No, but I think this is going to be Joshua Van's hardest fight in his career. But I do think that he has the wits in him to come out on the other side and potentially knock out Brandon Royval, who, as you mentioned, has some concussion issues right now. So give me Joshua Van. Give me KO3.
Oh, shit. Picking the stoppage as well. I see where you're coming from, my brother. MMA, JB, what you think about this one, my man? I know you got Texas representative Joshua Van. What do you about this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I love the kid. I think he's a fucking great talent. But like you said, this is his toughest test yet. You know, eye test Josh Van does pass, but if we're just going narrative, like concussion issues, like that stuff can be subjective. So I don't really want to bake it too much in the line. It's something I want to be aware of, but I don't want to like overreact to it, if that's like, to be honest. And I think Josh Van like has power, but we've seen guys survive against him. It's not like it's an auto KO on the feet against Brandon Royval. And I don't think Brandon Royval is going to fuck off like some of these other guys. He's proven that throughout his career. Like Cody Durden is a guy you can will. Bruno Silva is a guy you can will over 3 rounds. Now Josh Van's facing a guy who can match his cardio. Who are the guys that we've seen be able to match his cardio in the past? Charles Johnson. That's the only one I could really think of. I'll have to go back and look, because other than that, it's literally guys that are just straight gassing against him because of what he presents. I'm not going to act like it's, these guys are just bums on the other end. No, that's his style. He's trying to walk you forward. These Texas guys, they don't give a fuck. They're there to throw hands. They will fight anytime, anywhere. You've seen it with Cameron Smotherman, Michael Aswell, and these guys are coming in on super short notice, and they are competing. And Josh Van and Kevin Holland are the kings of this, right? They will just show up at any time. They will fight, and they're trying to throw hands. They don't like any of that grappling shit. So I have seen Josh Van shoot takedowns in fights before, though. I will say that. Let me just bring up my guy. And I'm sure you'll have some counter arguments too, but I want to look at my guy Josh Van's record, because I do really like this kid, and I want to give him some credit, because on the feet, I do think he's the more technical boxer, and I do think he has chances to land hard. But Chirez kind of slowed down. Saruya slowed down because he wasn't able to grapple. Bunez slowed down. Borjas, didn't really slow down. And that fight wasn't that fucking, he started to pick up on him late, but he got hurt badly by him a couple times early. And obviously he's improved since then. And then the split against August. August ain't really a guesser. Chirez, was hurt in that fight. Van starts to walk forward to pressure him, and Chirez throws a spinning back fist. Bro, clips Van, hurts him badly. Van shoots, put into a guillotine. But the problem is Chirez can't finish it because he's so tired from the body shots. Like, I just don't think Brandon Royval is going to be one of these people to fuck off. I think he's going to be there for all 15 minutes. I think he's fought the way more experienced guys. So now it's like, dude, Van, you got 2 weeks to prepare. How much is he really improving in between these? Like, I know he's improving, but man, take some time off, my guy. The activity worries me a little bit. So while you have concussion issues that are probably real, let's just be honest, we don't know though how much it's going to affect them in the fight. I could tell you fighting consistently isn't going to be good for Josh Van in the long run. Could he possibly win here? Definitely. But I just don't see that consistent fighting like that. I don't know if that's going to get him to where he needs to be. And that's just me being truthful. So I think it's an excellent fucking fight. I think Royval, jiu-jitsu upside, can match the cardio, really durable. On the other end, Van, I mean, he's been fucking great, but I think this is his toughest test yet. So toughest test yet, and we're going to see.
Here's my counter to just him being maybe a little bit too active, just based on the narrative here. I agree if this was not a 23-year-old fighter. I think because he's 23, the more experience you can get while you're younger, the better. Because when you're younger, you're able to recover that much quicker. You're able to absorb info, absorb all the talent that you're training around in the training room and going to different gyms if you are. That much more when you're younger. And someone in Josh Van,
I don't think he's going to different gyms.
He's obviously training with other people at the PI.
Okay.
Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
Is he an official Wizz MMA product?
No, he's not. He's not. But I just think that as you grow in the sport, I understand him staying at his original gym in Texas. But when you're going across the country for 2-3 weeks in Vegas preparing for a training camp or a different state for a training camp, you are going to come across different fighters and you are going to work with them. And it's not just going to be 1, 2, 3 times. Once you work with them once and twice, you're going to start working with them the whole time leading up to the fight because you just start to grow that connection with that fighter and you're going to start to trust them as a training partner that much more and realize that some fighters are there to help you and not hurt you. That's the biggest thing that I even recommend to any fighter in the sport is to branch out and to go to different gyms. And I encourage getting out of your comfort zone and learning a different style because it's endless evolution here in the sport.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100% there. I mean it just more so in the long run, it's not going to be good for his chin, bro. I love the kid. I think he's great, but I think maybe it's a narrative. Maybe I'm just nuts, bro. But I don't think that constant damage. You're sparring hard. I know he's sparring hard. So now it's at a certain point, what do you call the line? You got to be a smart fighter, Can't just take every fight they give you and yeah, youthful ignorance, right?
That's true. But my brother's from
in his favor.
When you're from Myanmar, you got that.
Immigrant mentality. He's tough as fuck, bro, and I love the kid.
Yeah.
I really think he's fucking talented. I think since where we really saw the improvements originally, this kid was 20 years old. He fought Paris Moran. Nobody Fury FC. They would not give this guy. They didn't want to give him the fight because they didn't think he could win. And Josh just wouldn't fuck off. He would keep bothering Eric. And this is just stories I've heard. He'd keep bothering him. I want this guy. I know I could beat this guy. And they're like, because, you want to keep as many prospects as you can. Well, they matched him up, and look what happened. He winds up, I believe he got the finish there. And there's, Josh Van was born. That was it, man. Huge knockout. And ever since then, I think, you've seen the improvements. You can't doubt the kid is getting better. But I just worry, he could win this fight here, but I don't think the activity is going to pay off for him in the long run. I would slow down a little bit, especially if he wins this one, right? Let's just take our time, brother.
Well, you see, the thing is, if he wins this one, then he will probably be slowed down by necessity. And what do I mean by that? I think he's next up for the strap if he wins this one, right? Like, Brandon Royval is clearly the top guy. When you look at Manel Cap, some people in the chat were talking about he's been more active. It's about not just being active. It's about not canceling all your fights. Like, he's had a lot of cancellations. It just makes it hard to plan an event around somebody that you don't know is going to be there. That's why it's hard to book him for title fights and main events. That's why he's normally in, third fight down and things like that, right? Just to make sure that we can pivot if he doesn't end up coming to the fight. So when I'm looking at this, like, the thing that I have to note right off the bat, guys, is just the striking stats for Brandon Royval are god awful. Like, they're really, really, really bad. 39% accuracy. That's not good. 47% defense. That's not good. I've talked about before the book Fightnomics. It says most ranked UFC fighters will have above 100. If you look at their striking accuracy added to their defense, some guys are 40-60, right? They're not trying to do as much damage, but they're super defensively responsible. Some guys are 50-50. They're willing to exchange, but they know that they can land their shots and do damage. He's not ahead in the accuracy. He's not ahead in the defense, right? He's getting hit too much, and he's not landing as frequently as he should be. So he's throwing a lot out there, right? He's getting a lot of activity, but most of it's not touching somebody, right? On the other side, Josh Van is landing a lot. He's throwing a shit ton. His accuracy, 54%. So he's way more accurate. His defense, 59%. It's much superior. So what Brandon Royval, in my opinion, needs to do is he needs to manufacture knockdowns, which I believe he's had 3 in his UFC career. He's had 10 fights. We know that Josh Van had 3 knockdowns in his last fight against Bruno Silva. So Josh Van has power, right? He's got accuracy. He's got defense. Brandon Royval has 0.75 takedowns average per 15 minutes over the course of a 10-fight UFC sample. Josh Van is getting more than that over an 8-fight UFC sample. Do you start to understand why I struggle to like Royval in this one? It's not because he's not a great fighter. It's not because he doesn't have great skills. It's because styles make fights, and it's a matchup where I don't see Brandon Royval as a wrestler. I see him as a guy who likes being in kind of chaotic fights. In that sense, that's where he has some opportunity, right? He's an opportunistic finisher. We've seen Josh Van get hurt before. We've seen him get into some awkward grappling situations. That's the path I could pave for Brandon Royval. But when I'm thinking about, okay, this fight's gone 15 minutes, who won it? Unless Brandon Royval got back takes and like held him down or hurt him badly in 2 rounds, like, I just think he's going to be way behind on the volume of activity, what happens in the contest, because Josh Van does a lot, throws a lot, touches to the body. He's got a lot of opportunities. And also, you mentioned the low kicks that he started to throw a lot more against Bruno Silva. Royval's kind of got this like long, awkward type of stance. You know, he kind of keeps that lead leg out in front of him. Would not surprise me if Josh is able to kick him off of his feet, you know? So for me, I just think that Josh would need to make a catastrophic mistake more often than not to lose this fight. He's a young guy. He's 23. I've talked about before, if you're looking for, the best age for fighting, I'm looking for guys 25 to 30, typically, right? Like, again, all depends on who they are and how long they've been training and all these different things. But like, I want somebody who's fully physically developed as a man. That's normally a 25-year-old. You know what I mean? So when you look at a 23-year-old, like, yeah, he could still have more physical development. Maybe he finishes out as a bantamweight when all is said and done, this kind of thing. But when you look at a guy like Josh Van, he's small, right? He's got a short stature. He's not a big, long guy like Brandon Royval. He's compact. He whips to the body. He goes to the legs. He goes to the head. I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities to land. So for me, I'm picking the young kid. I'm picking Josh Van to get it done. But I acknowledge I fucking love Royval. When he was plus 190 against Kai Kara-France all those years ago, I had him plus 190. I had the sub, and I called the guillotine specifically. I said he might hurt him. And I've seen Kai Kara-France shoot before when he gets hurt. He shot. He got finished. Right?
I've seen Van do the same thing.
Dude, that's my point, though. It's like when I'm looking for how could this fight go wrong for him, that's how I see it going wrong. Is that he gets hurt. And like a lot of guys, I said it about Ilia Topuria. How could I see him losing the fight? When you get hurt, you don't make good decisions. When you shoot a takedown while you're hurt, you're normally just going for the takedown. You're not thinking about defense. You put your head in the hole, right? So that is the biggest concern. Brandon Royval is a money guillotine. That's probably his best move. So we have to see real savviness from Josh Van. He needs to be smart in this fight, not just reckless. But I just think he's got great offense, man. And I think that when you look at great offense against subpar defense, give me great offense. It's like I think Royval has very good offense, but it's a little bit more all over the place. It's a little bit pick here and pick there. The guys he's knocking out and knocking down, besides Kai Kara France, which again, that hats off to him. That's a fucking beautiful win. That's 2 of his knockdowns in the UFC. The other one is Mateus Nicolau, and he's never knocked down anybody else. So it's like I could see it happening, but I'd need to see more to feel confident in it. Both these guys have had similar amount of experience in the UFC, which people are not talking about, right? They're talking about Brandon Royval. He's been fighting the top guys, which is true, but he's also had close fights with guys that weren't top guys. So I think he's a guy that can have a close fight with just about anybody, but I also think styles make fights. And I think a guy who's going to land 8 significant strikes per minute is a fucking problem for anybody. So unless you're going to take him out, after 15 minutes is all said and done, I think they're raising Josh's hand.
I don't know if he's going to be able to sustain that, though, against a higher level of competition. It's like just something we've yet to see. And as you said, like it could just continue here with the bad defense. But I do worry that he could get bonked here. I know you were saying like Royval only has a few knockdowns in the UFC. How many knockdowns does Charles Johnson have? How many knockouts does Charles Johnson have? I don't know. I've never seen people get, and it's not like Van, his defense is very good, but he is hittable.
Charles Johnson knocked down Sumu Derji
Nice.
and Jake Hadley.
Okay, so you got some power.
Van. He actually got 3 knockdowns in a row, but those are the only 3 of his career, so fair point.
And he knocked out Van. So it's like, I don't see like it being impossible for Royval to hurt Van here. But that's some great points, man. Honestly, I see it one of 2 ways. I think either, I don't know, man. It's tough for me to see Van finishing him. I feel like he's one of those guys that likes to, kind of throw around one sometimes, which is one thing I wanted to mention. And then he starts to build and read his way into fights, and then he tries to whoop guys as the fight goes on. So, like, if he has a guy that can match the cardio in front of him, that's when I start to worry that his style starts to become less effective because he's landing a lot of these significant strikes against guys who are just kind of wilting. But then again, they are wilting due to his style, right? So that's what it will be interesting.
Yo, did y'all see this? Because I didn't actually see this. I'm gonna have to seek out this interview, but
I think I heard something like that.
Because I don't like the way Royval is talking
bad,
as of late. Mentioned moving to bantamweight. Yeah, that sounds fucking horrible. If I was betting on somebody, I would not want to hear they're moving weight classes. Think back to Brian Ortega, Diego Lopes. How'd that turn out?
Max bet Diego Lopez. That's how it turned out.
Hey, my man. Great job. He said if he doesn't get a title shot. Okay, well, that's fair enough then. That makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, he's like saying basically, yo, motherfucker, if I win this fight and I don't get a title shot, I'm moving to bantamweight. Like, this is bullshit kind of shit.
I don't think it's more like that it's bullshit. I think it's more that he does not want to cut any more to 125. He is a big
I mean, he's big, dude. Like 5'9" is big for
he's big. And I think at 135, he'll get killed. I hate to say it.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think there's some fights he could win, but 135 is pretty stacked up with athletes. And I think Royval's an okay athlete, but I think the physicality would be a huge problem for him.
Yo, O'Malley freaking murked Pantoja with that body kick, bro. Royval gonna get cooked.
He said, no thank you. No mas, I'm good.
Shit different up here.
Yo. Next one up. Beneil Dariush. A local, a Californian brother of my guy Wizz MMA.
Nice.
As well as Anato Moicano. He wants the money. My favorite moment in UFC history. I wanted to fight more. Well, then you shouldn't have submitted me in earnest. Damir Hadzovic, the most honest man in UFC history. I would have fought more, but you submitted me, my friend. Just unbelievable. Boys, what do you make of this one? We got 2 elder statesmen in the lightweight division, 36 on 36. Middle-aged crime in the lightweight class. And honestly, I think both these guys' chins are a little bit in regression. And that could lead to, 2 non-traditional knockout artists, so to speak. Benny a little bit more than Moicano, although he's had a late career renaissance with the strikes. I do think that this is the kind of fight somebody could get laid out just because they're both getting up there in age. And they both throw with bad intentions when they do go. So I'm curious what you think of this one. We'll start with Brother Wizz as I plug in my laptop before it dies.
Wait, do you guys hear like this background audio?
No. What is it? Is it
a leaf blower?
No, dude. I don't hear it at all.
All right, cool. Just make sure because I was gonna go and close the window, but if it's not bugging right now, then I'll just do it later. So
shout out to the chat too. Damn, we're lit.
Yeah, no,
Jeez.
shout out to the chat for real. Thank you for. I mean, we always have a lively chat, but at 11:28 a.m. my time
Sheesh.
on a Friday when people are still at work, that's some serious work. So thank you all for being interactive today.
Sharpest chat in the motherfucking game. Appreciate you
Yep,
guys.
and on a Friday where usually most people already have their breakdown videos uploaded, you guys are the best. Now, when it comes to this fight, Beneil Dariush used to be one of my first coaches in mixed martial arts. I used to go to King's MMA here in Anaheim, and Beneil owns the that branch of King's MMA, and then there's another one in Huntington Beach that's owned by Rafael Cordero. Beneil's King's MMA didn't really have the big names or the heavy hitters with the mainstays of the UFC, but he had Giga Chikadze, Marvin Vittori. Those were the two main names that always would be at the gym. And then you have the Euros Medic's and the Vinicius Sensis of the world. So decent room to be in. When it comes to this fight, I'm going to always try and keep my bias aside. This is a fight where we've seen Benny in the past two fights really show a lack of durability, and that has been his downfall, unfortunately. And it's been sad to see, but it's something that has come against the top of the division. And now you're going up against the guy in Ronaldo Moicano, who has also been fighting some good competition, but has also seen the same durability issues. So when it comes to durability, we really have an unknown here. Now, while most will say Benny's durability seems to be a lot worse than Renato's, and I tend to agree there, I will say that Renato's has come against some, not the best names, and a lot of guys have dropped him in the past. So for me, I think where this fight is going to be decided is the grappling if Renato engages, because I do think that Benny is the better grappler here. I think he's going to be the better jiu-jitsu player. Benny is, I think, multi-time, if not three-time IBJJF champion. I might be getting the competition actually wrong here. But nonetheless, high-level jiu-jitsu player. And I've seen him go against some of the top names, and Benny has come out on top. And it's not just one facet of jiu-jitsu. He's not just like a leg lock player. He's well-rounded. He can do it all. So against a guy like Moicano, I think Benny will have the advantage here unless Moicano finds a way to sneak onto his back. But if this fight stays standing, I think Renato has the slightly faster striking, and I think that's the difference in this fight, because I think it's just whoever is first to the chin is going to win this fight. I think that's where the fight's going to get decided. Whoever lands that first clean, first flush shot on the chin will likely dictate where the fight goes soon thereafter. So I think in this fight, it would be wise for Benny to look for the grappling, but I just do not see him doing that. Benny likes his striking a lot, and he's fallen in love with it over his past few fights, and that's what led to the downfall in the first place. I think Renato's going to be able to land the faster combinations here, and I think he'll be able to put Benny down. But my favorite look in this fight, money lines aside, is going to be the under. But yeah, for me, I'm passing on this fight. I have too much personal love for Benny to have any money on the fight, and I've made the mistake of betting against him once. I won't do it again.
My brother, what was that? Mateusz Gamrot, because I definitely took that plunge as well. And I will say this, man, like Benny, when you watch that fight back, it was a tough fight. It wasn't like it was an easy one. But as soon as he landed that big overhand left that sounded like a gunshot, you might as well have just wrapped it up. It was all over then, you know. The guy, I think, has the better hands, the more power in his hands for sure. When I'm talking about Benny compared to Moicano, I do think Moicano does sometimes get a bad rap for his striking, even though we've seen performances like, again, I'm dating myself. I'm a guy who's been watching for a long time, but when he absolutely danced on Calvin Kattar and just made him look bad, kicked his calf all night, kept getting him out of position, that was a really good win for him. But when he was at 145, his durability wasn't really there. He's only been knocked out at 155 one time. but he got his absolute shit kicked in against RDA up at 165-pound catchweight. And then Islam, probably could have done it however he wanted to in that one, all due respect. So when you look at where we're at coming into this fight, like I do think both guys are on a decline. I think that when I look at Moicano, I think he could win an outside kickboxing decision here if he's smart, if he avoids the fire, if he uses that low kick, stuff like that. I don't know that I trust him to do that. I think he's more interested in having fun fights and getting bonuses and things like that. And, the performance against BSD, I have to just say, I was fucking blown away. Like his grappling looked sensational. His control looked sensational. He did so many things right. But when I'm looking at, okay, what's the potential downsides? I will show this right now on screen, guys. I tweeted this in September of 2024 before he fought BSD because I thought it was relevant. And it was Renato Moicano has struggled with the classic southpaw double attack, rear hand, left straight, and open side round kicks to the head and body. If you know anything about Beneil Dariush, he has an excellent body kick and he has an excellent overhand left. So those are two tools that have been really bad for Moicano. And look at the open side head kick right there from RDA that just dropped him badly. So I think that when you look at Benny, he's not as flexible, right? I would be fucking surprised if he goes to like a high kick or something up top. But I do think Benny has a chance to, show that he's not past it. He's not washed. He just lost to two of the best guys in the division. So for me, I think that Benny at plus money was the side. I think pick'em type prices are appropriate. Both guys have some skills, have some paths to victory, but Benny's game is a little bit more consistent, a little bit more refined, I would say. Also, my guy Wiz has about 25 more minutes. So now I'm going to shut the hell up. I'm going to kick it to my guy JB, and we'll keep the flow rolling.
No, you're good. I'll keep it quick, man. I took some Benny here. I just think he's more well-rounded. I think he's the better grappler, unless he's on bottom. But I don't think he's a complete fish on bottom. Like, Moicano can get on top. He can land this ground and pound against guys. But, I'll just go back to the last few fights where I thought he had a chance against Jalen Turner because I just always thought Jalen Turner is a bit of a head case. We've seen that, and he has him completely on death's door, decides to, not finish him, and then gets finished himself. Benny, I think Benny could hurt him on the feet, man. I don't think Benny's striking's complete washed. He's awkward. He's tricky. His knockout losses in the last couple of fights, yeah, they were rough, but he's had a year and a half off. We don't know how his chin's recovered since then. The knockout losses are to two of the best guys in the division. So now you're saying Moicano, who has durability issues of his own, should be a favorite. I don't know what the line's at now, but yeah, I couldn't get to that. I think, literally same age. They fought basically same competition. Benny's on a fucking roll. I guess, those wins, I feel like those wins against Turner and BSD really hyped up Moicano to be more than what he is. I think the market.
And we could go back and say, is that Turner win even a win, or is that a Turner loss? No disrespect, but just he literally fumbled a free win.
Facts. So yeah, I think Benny could even sub him, man, as crazy as it sounds. So I like unders here. I like the Dariush side at plus money, and I like big props on Benny by sub.
Oh shit! You know what's funny, man, is on my breakdown last night, I think I had said Moicano hadn't been submitted because I was misremembering, right? And going back and looking, not only was he submitted by Islam, right, which is that one just slipped my mind because it was the last fight that happened and it felt like a non-entity, right? That was a fight that was put together on 12 hours notice. But when you look at his other loss, it was to Brian Ortega, got him with the guillotine in the third round. Bro, that was when Brian Ortega was letting people know what time it was at featherweight. And holy shit, going back and looking at that is something where I have to pump the brakes a little bit on my enthusiasm about Moicano's grappling. It's very good, but it's very good against guys that aren't quite on the level. And I do think that Beneil Dariush is clearly on the level. Rewatching his scrambles with Gamrot, it's fucking unbelievable, right? The guy is just impossible to take down for the average person. So that's why everybody wanted to see Beneil against Islam. Would he have probably got knocked out on the feet? Yes. Would he have had a chance to maybe stuff a couple takedowns and make it interesting? Maybe he could have. So I think that, at least for his sake, Beneil deserves this win, bro. Hanato got his money, right? He did everything he wanted to do. He got that title fight. I said, by the way, in my bold predictions with half the battle at the beginning of the year, Renato Moicano will fight for the UFC lightweight title. I was already right, so now he can lose. And I think that he's going to. So for me, Benny is the reluctant pick. I think it's a close fight, but right now, you're still seeing slight plus money on the Benny side. And for me, that would be the way I approach
Even
it.
in the
And of
Dober
course,
fight, bro, he got taken down, put on his back. Dober had top time. Like, if that's Dariush, who's to say he doesn't get to mount? He doesn't actually take his back, club and sub live. So I just think like plus 1,000 is a little bit absurd.
yeah, I'm seeing people in the chat say sometimes you got to follow the line movement. Moicano open -180. I would think that sometimes the line move matters and sometimes it doesn't, right? Because I could just tell you examples of like, I bet Jailton Almeida, I think it was like -105. He closes like -140 against Blades and then he gets fucking smoked. So I can just tell you, even on pay-per-views, the line move isn't a guarantee, but I do think there's been sharp money that's come in on Beneil Dariush. I'll just leave it there. All right, folks, let's move on to this next one and close out the main card where we have maybe the most intriguing fight. Two prospects, two guys that both could use a breakout win. And Peyton Talbot, he's looking for some get back, right? He had a little bit of a setback against Howney Barcelos, maybe had to change some things in his personal life, had to change some things in his training. If you listen to his conversation that he did with UFC News, I would encourage you guys to do that. Sounded very mature and responsible, took some accountability for what went wrong, but also said, hey, I made some changes and I'm not looking for easy fights. I'm looking for hard fights. I'm looking for the toughest guys. Felipe Lima is a fucking hard fight for anybody as far as I'm concerned. So he's taken another hard fight here. He's an underdog. He was just one of the biggest favorites of the year. How does he respond? Brother Wizz, we'll kick it to you.
This is going to be one of my favorite fights on the card, actually. I think this is a contender for fight of the night. We have someone in Felipe Lima who, as you're showing, coming in the best shape of his career. That is what you call an athlete, a super athlete. Lean to the bone, and you can see just muscular. Looks very prepared for the fight, and looks like the weight cut went well. And then Talbot also, from what I'm hearing, because he trains a lot. He trained for a couple of weeks at my gym. Not this camp, but for the camp prior. Also had a good weight cut from what I'm hearing, and is in good shape. Now, when it comes to skill for skill, how these guys match up, I personally think that Payne Talbot is the better striker here of the two, and I think obviously Felipe Lima is going to be the better grappler of the two, and the guy that's going to look to take the fight to the ground a little bit more often. But we saw against Muhammad Naimov, Lima got into the firefight a couple of times and preferred to stay on the feet there. And, you know, got caught a couple of times. Naimov was landing. And I think similar to how Naimov was landing, someone who's a lot bigger than Naimov here in Talbot will be able to land as well. And I think he's a much better striker than Naimov. Talbot just brings a lot more dynamicism in the striking. He's able to switch stances. He goes for the crazy kicks, and he's a little bit unpredictable. Whereas Lima in the striking, he has the speed and he likes to throw down the middle. I'd say sometimes he can go a little bit gun shy when he's met with someone who is perceived to be a better striker or someone who he feels is a better striker than him. So I think that's where Talbot's going to be able to get off a little bit more in the striking. And when these guys get into the fire, I just favor Talbot's style more than Lima's style. So the longer this fight is on the feet, the more I think that Payne Talbot has a chance here and a chance to knock Lima out potentially. But where I think Lima wins this fight or makes this fight difficult for Talbot is in the middle of these striking exchanges, shooting a takedown, changing the flow, and just doing that over and over again, zapping the energy out of Talbot, and maybe getting off in some grappling exchanges and seeing if he can actually land some control. So it really depends on if Lima shoots or not. If he does not shoot, then I think this fight is Talbot's to lose, personally. So I'm picking Payne Talbot here. I'm going to play him on the money line here for 1 unit. I just feel like Talbot is going to find a lot more opportunities to finish the fight and land the more damaging strikes and be a little bit more flashier than Lima would be in the eye of the judges. So, yeah, give me Talbot.
There you have it. And to your point, my man. Oh, please go ahead.
One last thing. Both these guys have shaded in all of their interviews that they're looking to get in there and have a car crash. So under 2.5 at plus money, take it.
Interesting stuff, man. I will say, when I looked at these stats, like it definitely jumps off the page at you that Peyton Talbot is landing double the amount of strikes. Like that, he's going to do more. He's going to throw more, attempt more offense while they're on the feet. I don't have any doubt about that. Also, the accuracy is really impressive, right? To throw and land that much and also be that accurate, that's Josh Van shit, right? Most guys don't do that. But when you look at the downside of Peyton Talbot's style, I think it's really important to note this right here. 44% strike defense. He's not even attempting to block most of the shots, right? He's just eating them, just like literally, like no selling them, right? That doesn't last forever, right? Josh Van is moving, rolling, whatever. He still gets hit sometimes, but like he's at least attempting to defend strikes. I'm seeing Talbot a lot of the time. He's either focused on offense, right? So he's like no selling your strikes coming back as he's throwing more at you, or he's kind of in this I need to keep my hands low to avoid takedowns. And so he's just taking them on the chin, right? And those are, for me, big concerns because it kind of speaks to an inability to move between positions. We saw against Raoni Barcelos, one thing that was kind of a constant problem was how upright he is in his stance. Peyton Talbot doing a lot of walking in like this with your chest up, and when you do that, the guys can enter in on your legs without a ton of resistance. So we saw, over the course of the fight, I actually thought the takedowns were getting easier for Barcelos, despite him getting more tired. Like we saw a few times even where Peyton flat-backed himself, in my humble opinion, like as he's going down, just like accepted the takedown. And that's just not shit that I can support, right? So when I look at Peyton on the feet, fucking unbelievable. Future world champion type presentation, right? He's got a great chin. You could tell by the 44% defense, he takes everything, he never sells anything. So the guy shows, hey, I'm durable. I'm not afraid to get hit. Can step in the fire. And for me, that's a problem for Lima here, is that Lima just doesn't throw as much, right? He's very particular with his shots. I think his timing is great. I think the strikes he lands are amazing. His defense is fucking impeccable, 72%. You talked about, hey, Namath landed a couple shots. He's a guy who's knocked out UFC lightweights, right? He's a guy that has real power in his hands. I think we could all agree. And he was no selling those, right? So you got two 27, 26-year-olds, like they're going to be able to take some clean punches. They're going to be able to take some shots, keep going. I just think the difference is here. When I looked at that Raoni Barcelos fight, Raoni is fucking amazing at wrestling. He's amazing at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but he was afraid of gassing out, in my humble opinion, which is why he would get like a rear naked choke and then let go of it and not squeeze it. Because he knew, like, if I go for this squeeze right now, I have nothing left for 10 minutes. Like that's going to be the end of me. He had 3 near sub attempts in the first round and just never fully committed to any one of them. And I do believe like that could be his undoing here. It's like, yo, if you want to fucking hang around and play around with a guy who's 27, not 38, and fast and pretty decisive with his grappling, you saw Muhammad Namath, he realized too late. He's like, oh, fuck, it's already over. Like, he's like trying to fight hands and turn around, and he's like slapping his own head and the other guy because he's so tight in the rear naked choke. That was in an instant, right? Lima starts going for offense and then instantly takes his back and finishes him. For me, Barcelos was playing the long game there. He's like, hey, if I could just keep this kid down, I could win this fight. And he was right. And I think that this guy, Felipe Lima, is going to draw on that. The one thing I will point out before I kick this to JB, I think coaching matters. I don't think Peyton Talbot is poorly coached, so to speak, right? You don't get to be as good as Peyton Talbot with having outright bad coaching. But I will just say, guys, listen to the corner for Peyton Talbot. Listen to the corner for fucking Felipe Lima. And it is night and day. Andreas Michael is one of the best corners in the game, in my humble opinion. He corners Khamzat Chimaev. Listen to what he says to Felipe Lima between rounds. He says, Lima, you have great conditioning. I need you to go now. We don't have time for this. You need to go. You need to empty your cardio. You need to attempt offense now. You're better than him. Then he comes out in between rounds 2 and 3, and he says, Felipe, I need you to go right now. You're the better fighter. You have better condition. Do this for your mother. Go right now and get after him. He does not want this as much as you, and he gets on his ass. And what does Felipe Lima do? He comes out like a bat out of hell. He takes the fight to Namath, who's supposed to be this big, tough, scary guy, and he beats him up on the feet. He breaks him down, brings him to the ground, and finishes him. That's what he did. And that's because he had a great coach and a great corner who told him exactly what he needed to do, exactly what he needed to hear. By the way, I left out the part where he said, you know where we are. You know that winning the rounds isn't enough. They were in, a part of the world where Namath probably getting the nod, probably getting the referee to shake his hand in the back and all this stuff. Watch the Wood fight if you guys need some perspective, all right? Namath and Wood, there was no rule he could break that wouldn't get him in trouble. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Then you look at that fight with Felipe Lima. His coach has the good sense that God gave Geese to tell him it's not enough to go win this round. That's simple. I will tell you guys, I listened to Peyton Talbot's corner between round 2 and 3 when he's fighting Johnny Barcelos, and I swear to God, this is a quote. Peyton, you just lost 2 rounds. You need to win this one. Huh? That doesn't win the fight. That's bad advice. You're a professional, my man. Got to tell him, go finish. We need to knock this guy out. You're better at striking. Keep it on the feet and knock him the fuck out. That's what I'd be telling him. And again, am I saying I'm a perfect corner? No. But I'm saying, is Andreas Michael going to tell you, hey, you're down 2 rounds. Go out there and fucking see what happens? Like, no, he's not going to do that. He's going to tell you what you need to hear to win the fight. He's going to say, hey, listen, no bullshit. You're down 2 rounds. And if you want to win this fight, go get it right now. And sometimes that's what you need, right? You don't need a guy to be your friend in the corner. Hey, come on, buddy. Look at Tim Welch and Sean O'Malley and how that turned out. He's his friend in the corner. Hey, buddy, just 5 more minutes, you'll be fine. It's like, I don't want that. I want a guy who's going to tell you the truth. Hey, listen, we can't play no more games. Go right now. Andreas Michael, for me, All-Stars MMA, a little bit more proven right now, and I just believe in their systems a little bit better. I think they're more modern MMA systems. So for me, very reluctant pick on Lima. I'm not getting behind the price tag. The more I look into this fight, the closer it is. But I just think there's one guy who's got a clearer path, which is the grappling. I do think Felipe Lima is a sensational grappler in his own right, and he hasn't been forced to use it all that much in the UFC. Miles Johns is a good wrestler, right? That's his base. He's low. He's stocky. He's kind of awkward to get a hold of. I think that it's a little bit different when you're fighting somebody like Peyton Talbot, who's long, right? That long body is controllable at times as well when you've got real technique. So I'm fascinated to see this one play out. JB, what you got on this one, my man?
I love it, bro. Passionate breakdown. Passionate. If Talbot's mom's sick. Is she really? Send me her info, bro. I'm interested. Yeah, man. I took some Talbot here. Well, I just think he's the side at plus money. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, I do think Lima has a lot of grappling advantages. I thought what you said about the corner, like, is a big thing. Like, who are the guys he's training with? He's not getting the best training. That's a big worry. But the more I look into it, I just don't know if Lima's going to be able to, I think he'll sustain the wrestling pace that Barcelos had, but I don't know if he's going to be willing to chain takedowns together. Like, I think he's a good on his entries, but I don't know if he's going to have that consistent chain wrestling that he's going to need. Now, maybe he's improved a little bit. I thought, taking down Miles Johns was a good look, but some of these guys that he's facing are like kind of notorious gassers, and the fights are close up until then. Payton's not going to fuck off. I do think he's going to come out with some type of urgency from the last fight, but it's just we got to see improvement in the takedown defense, man. And if he does, he's going to look like a really good bet here. And let's just talk about the fucking price correction. This guy was a minus 1,000 favorite in his last fight. And
I think minus 1,800 at some points.
Minus 1,800, and now the line's completely flipped to the other way. Now this guy's an underdog. He can't fucking win a UFC fight. I'm not buying it, bro. But I could talk about this fight for hours. I gotta go, my dude. I'm gonna go eat some food. I'm gonna go maybe look at some PFL fights too, because I'm kind of interested in this card. I wasn't gonna bet it, but then I looked at some of the matchups, and now I am interested. So, yeah, dog. Good talking to you. We've been here for an hour. That was fun, man. Thank you for having me, bro.
Anytime, brother. Peace, love, and chicken grease. We'll see you on the other side.
Peace, yo, brother Wizz, man. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good training, and congrats on the coach of the year. You already got it in the bag, dog. You already got it in the bag.
Yes, sir.
You're too kind.
Be well, my brother. Thanks for being here. Brother Wizz, we've got, I think, 8 minutes left with the king of California, Brother Wizz. My man, why don't you go rapid fire style if you'd like for any fights that you want to talk about, my man, because I know we've got a short window. Next up, we got Jack Hermanson and Gregory Rodriguez. Did you have any thoughts on this one, brother?
Yeah, so I think in this fight, obviously the better striker is going to be Gregory Rodriguez, but here's the thing with Rodriguez. We've seen in his past few fights now, he likes to unload the tank in round 1 and first half of round 2, and he starts to slow down. And when he starts to slow down and gas out, he gets hit a ton. Now, Jack Hermanson does not have the power but Jack Hermansson has something that is a very stiff jab and a jab that is very accurate. So as this fight goes on, I think Jack Hermansson will be a great live bet after round one. But that's the angle I'm looking to play it at. I think Gregory Rodriguez round one knockout is my actual prediction. I think Hermansson has been knocked out multiple times in the first round, more than twice, if I remember correctly. And RoboCop just loves to do that. He lands heavy, straight right hands in the first round, and he's in your face. And against a fighter like Jack Hermansson, you have to pressure him. Otherwise, he's going to be in your face, and he's going to land those nasty leg kicks that he does. So for me, it's round one RoboCop or Jack Hermansson live money line after round one. For me, I think Hermansson, as this fight goes on, the leg kicks are going to start to weigh on RoboCop. It's going to start to slow him down. And as his cardio wears out, he's going to land the jab a lot more often and be able to outlast him on the judges' scorecards. So now I'm talking myself into a Jack Hermansson decision bet. Decision only. Let's do that.
Hey, decision only to avoid that KO. I'll tell you this, though, my man. There are only two men in UFC history who ever submitted the great Gerald Mearshart. Jack the Joker Hermansson, and as somebody pointed out in the replies, Renee the Riddler, the Ritter. So it takes a superhero-like performance to submit a black belt like GM3, 11-2 to the sub in the UFC. Jack Hermansson's one of them. So don't sleep on that grappling just because HoboCop is a known grappler himself. I would say that the guy who's more proven at this level in terms of their submission grappling is Jack Hermansson. It's not quite close. You know, Armen Petrosian defended the only 2 sub attempts we've ever seen from RoboCop in the UFC. Meanwhile, Jack Hermansson has submitted 2 black belts in the UFC. So for me, it's just like different provenness level. That being said, Jack doesn't like guys with big muscles, bro. I said it years ago. It's still true. He's 37. I don't know how much his style is going to age well. And he's a good 5-round fighter because he's got great cardio. He's not a guy that gets tired. But over the course of 15 minutes, I feel like RoboCop should have enough to get the KO or decision. I will just say, though, if RoboCop tries to get cute, if he wants to mix it up on the ground with Jack, I would not be surprised if Jack had something for him. So that's the way that I wrote up this fight. That's the way I see it. Next up, my man, we've got the talk of the town, I would say, in many ways. We got Hyder Amil. I think these guys, at least on the Hyder side, might be local to you. I think he's a California-based guy. And Delgado on the other side, out of the MMA lab in Arizona. He seems like a new, pretty hype prospect. People like this guy. I think it's a fun fight, man. I think it's an action fight. These guys are probably going to crash into each other a lot. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite fights on the card. This is my second contender for fight of the night. I think the way Hyder Amil came out against the Korean Tiger is going to be the same way he comes out against Jose Delgado. I think the reason why he came out like that against Jose Delgado could be one of two things. Either Hyder believes that it's only a matter of time where he gets knocked out against these higher level of strikers, so he tries to take it onto him early when he has the most energy, or he just goes full retard like Gustafsson did a couple weeks ago. So it's one or the other. Now, I think Jose Delgado is going to be the much better technical striker here, and the striker that's going to look to keep this on the outside and land the long-range weapons and try to just snipe Hyder Amil on his way in. And Hyder Amil is going to try and make this nasty, get into the clinch, put Jose against the cage, and land the body shots and go basically crazy and land hook after hook to the face. That's his style, and he's not unwilling to get into a firefight. He'll be in there with the best of them, and this guy is the first person to finish Fernie Garcia and the only person to finish Fernie Garcia, as Liam's showing. That's a pretty good feat to have in the UFC. Now, Fernie Garcia is not the best of them, but durable. So we'll give him that. But yeah, I think personally that Jose Delgado is going to be able to finish Hyder Amil in this fight and withstand the storm. But more than the money line side on Delgado, I like the under 2.5 rounds a lot. So that's the way I'm looking to play this fight.
I like it. Yeah, I will say a couple of people saying Hyder is a public dog this week. Yeah, he is. Last time out against William Gomes, I picked him by split decision. In this fight, I think if it gets to the cards, I honestly do favor Hyder just slightly because he does a lot. He comes forward. His optics are great. And like his doggedness is like unquestionable, right? Like you just know this guy will fight fucking hard for 15 minutes. That being said, I think either guy could just get absolutely starched in this fight, because when you fight car crash fights, Jiyoung Yeong Lee, that fight's awesome, right? It's cool. But it's also the kind of thing where it's a 50-50. You know, you're taking a lot of chances with your health there. So I think that, you know, Hyder a mil plus 200, it would be a no-brainer for me in this spot. Like, hey, you know, let's get involved. Let's hope for the best. But I feel like it should be a pretty closely lined fight. The money's been coming in on Hyder. Delgado comes from a great gym. He's got good skills. I'll just say, like, what's his one big standout win that, like, tells everybody he's the next guy? Because I haven't seen it, right? Like, he lost to Makate, you know, just thoroughly. It was not close. Then you look at the fights that he's had, like Ernie Juarez and Connor Matthews. Like, I take Hyder a mil pretty comfortably over those guys as well. So that's why I'm not saying, like, Delgado's bad. I'm just saying it's a prove-it spot for me. So I think the right guy is probably favored. He's the bigger guy. He's got all the anthropomorphic advantages here. But my guy Moy said it, fight ends ITD, someone will die. When you've got two guys that are willing to car crash, I tend to agree. You know, like, they're both durable. But the Makate fight, he wasn't trying to finish him. He was trying to control him, right? Hyder Emil is going to try and finish him from the opening bell. Jose Delgado is going to try and finish him from the opening bell. And I think both guys are defensively void, right? Like, Jose Delgado, that was my note on him before he came to Contender Series. I was like, this guy's got great offense. Never heard of defense. Just doesn't do it. So I think that Hyder Emil is kind of the same way. He relies on durability, and Jose Delgado relies on offense as defense. So car crash waiting to happen. All right, my man, we're in rapid fire mode. What do you got? Anything else you want to talk about? This women's fight, I'm not sure is high on your priorities list.
Yeah, but probably not. I predict Tracy Cortez to win the fight by decision. I think she'll find no issue here finding success in the wrestling, and I think her boxing is a little bit better than Vivi's. As long as she stays out of the way of the power punches from Vivi and gets her to the second half of the second round onwards, she'll win this fight. Vivi tends to gas out. Next fight, we will go Terrence McKinney versus Borshev.
Speaking of gassing out.
Yeah, speaking of gassing out. Terrence McKinney, we all know, is a round one fighter. I think in round one, if he wants to win this fight, he will have to wrestle Vyacheslav Borshev. But I do also think he can knock Slava Claus out on the feet. Slava has looked a lot worse in the past two fights and has been a lot more hittable. But if this fight extends and Terrence McKinney gasses out, I think Slava can take over, so it might be a good live spot. But I think McKinney round one, Slava live after round one is the way I would approach it. Next fight,
Cooper plus 123, the bet of the century. Next absolutely. Up.
Next one, I mean, this fight really doesn't need too much of a breakdown. I think this is just a layup for Jacoby Smith. This guy is my favorite prospect in the UFC right now, and I think he's going to make his way slowly into the top 10, into the top 5, and really challenge for the belt at some time in the future. This is a guy that I think is very well-rounded wherever this fight goes, and I think the biggest hole maybe in his game might be the jiu-jitsu, but he can improve that as he goes on. But really good wrestler, very good striker, has some power in his hands, puts people out, and he goes in there and he looks for the finish every single time, and I expect this fight to end under 1.5 rounds.
Violent wrestler. That's what I like about him.
Last but not least, we have Jonathan Deniz going up against Alvin Hines. Alvin Hines is a guy who I am very familiar with, coming from LFA on very short notice here. I think it's a week. Alvin Hines has the most volume amongst heavyweights in professional MMA when it comes to the United States. He has the highest output, I believe. And the one thing about Hines is his cardio checks out. He pushes through it, but the one thing about him is he eats right hands and left hands every single time. He has null and void striking defense. And if you let him land on you, he will damage you. He doesn't have like knockout power, like one punch knockout power, but he's more of like a knockout by attrition kind of guy, TKO. For me, wait.
Magikarp off his back is maybe the funniest thing I've seen in the comments.
Yeah.
Shout out to Cowboy.
If Hines looks for the takedowns, I think he can take Deniz down. It's just, I think Jonathan Deniz is just a much better striker and a much more dynamic striker here with the kicks, with the faster punches down the middle and the more powerful punches down the middle. It's just a matter of can Hines outlast him or not. I think that he gets knocked out in the first round, unfortunately, but he may have a place in this heavyweight roster. But yeah, Deniz under 1.5 for me.
Yeah, man. We tend to see this the same way. You know, I think that Denise is the guy who should be favored here. My problem is just like confidence intervals in heavyweight, like shit can fights, you know. Denise has been fighting world-class kickboxers. Like, I think he's a higher level, a tier above type of thing. But on the other side, it's like Guzzi Hines is going to attempt takedowns. So let's find out if Denise really does look like a magic heart. Brother, I got to say, thank you so much for coming on, making the time. I know you got family in town. You got other things going on. It means the world. I'm glad we got to touch base. Anything that you want to get off your chest, anything you got to say to the people, the floor is yours, my friend.
No, just thank you for having me on. It was a fun show, a nice show, quick and easy. But you can find all my work at Wizz MMA. As always, on Bet MMA Tips, you can find all my bets. And looking forward to the next card, breaking it down next Wednesday.
Hey, I think we have a week off. I got to fact check myself, but right. I believe there's one off week from the UFC, and then we're back in earnest in July. So we'll be celebrating the nation's capital and everything like that. But beyond that, my man, it's right back to work for us. You know, the grind never sleeps. So appreciate you being here, my brother. And until next time, it's always a pleasure.
Peace.
Be well, brother. All right, folks, you're stuck with just me now. We had two great guest appearances, right? Really appreciate those guys coming by. My guy, MMA Jewish Better. Nobody do it better. My guy, Wizz MMA, a popular, person in the community, but also a really great guy, a guy that I always enjoy having our conversation. So thank you guys for everybody's support. Thanks to everybody who's showing up in the chat. We got a lot of sharp people here. So I got about 5 more minutes for you guys. Well, let's call it an even 90 minutes. If y'all got questions, comments, concerns, you can go ahead and fire those out in the chat. My guy, Mr. Maldamo, says Denise round 2 plus 450. I don't hate that angle. If you look at Hines, he's a tough guy. I don't think he's going to fold over when he gets hit with one punch. I think eventually he will probably get hurt by a big shot, though, because these are heavyweights and he does not have very good defense. So that is an interesting note. I think Denise took until round 2 to get Austin Lane out of there, if my memory serves. Yeah, the Austin Lane fight made it to the second round. I will say a lot of his finishes have materialized in the first round, but a lot of them were also against really underqualified, underdeveloped type fighters on the regional scene when he was working his way up in MMA. So Denise, in terms of the kickboxing pedigree, way higher, but Hines, probably a little bit of a better wrestler, more jiu-jitsu pedigree, I would say. He has jiu-jitsu in his Instagram bio, right? Which Denise, I don't think you'd ever catch him dead with that. So that's an interesting note there. But ultimately, guys, in terms of the weigh-ins, I just wanted to make sure that we closed out the weigh-in stream with some weigh-in thoughts. And right now, I will note this on the first fight of the night. We're seeing that Alvin Hines is actually the bigger guy in terms of weight. He's coming in 259 and a hook, a couple pounds heavier than Jonathan Denise. Otherwise, though, everybody has made weight on this card. So we're seeing, Viviana Ujau and Tracy Cortez, they both made the 126-pound limit. McKinney and Slava both made the 155-pound limit. Featherweight for Emil, middleweight for Hermanson and RoboCop. And honestly, RoboCop, I had to wait and see if he was going to make the weight because RoboCop has talked about potentially moving to 205 pounds. So that is a interesting note. He did make the 186-pound limit. I don't know if he could make that 185-pound limit for a title fight, but Peyton Talbot and Lima both showing up professional, looking the part as well. Dariush and Moicano both look like they're in pretty good shape as well. I would say if I had to tip the scale a little bit, it would probably be towards the Dariush side. Royval just shows up looking like he's ready for business, man. No gimmicks, no playing around, just a scowl on the scale. He's ready to fight. Josh Van looks happy to be here. He looks excited for this big opportunity. And I would say nothing out of character for him on the scales. Pantoja and Kaikar France both showed up in great shape. Hater blockers on, ready to rumble, especially at that face-off yesterday, one of the most intense face-offs of the day. Then you look at Ilia Topuria, Charles Oliveira, both guys showed up on point. Charles Oliveira, guys, overcut a little bit. He's actually under by a half pound, the 155-pound limit, which is kind of shocking because it's a big weight cut for him. So that I did find a little bit jarring, but otherwise, very interesting weigh-in results here. Again, if you guys missed it off the top of the show, we did announce that the first fight of the night that was scheduled between McVeigh and Ewert was canceled. So that fight is no longer going forward. Unfortunately, guys, Ewert accepted the fight on maybe 3 days' notice, and he was not able to get the weight off in time. So he was about 10 pounds over today. And I don't know if he's even going to get his chance to go back on Contender Series. You know, he was supposed to fight Yuri Panfarov in August on Contender Series. And I was favoring McVeigh. Cowboy asked in the chat, who did you favor in that one? I was favoring McVeigh, but not by a huge margin. I just thought that the grappling that I had seen from his opponent was really bad. So it's not to say that, you know, if it was a kickboxing match, I think that Ewert could have had a chance, right? Like, he is a guy that throws to all levels of the body, good calf kicks, decent body work. I don't think he's the most powerful one-hitter quitter type guy, but he did have a couple body shot TKOs. So he's a guy that will work multiple targets. And he's a Chilean kickboxer at the end of the day. When I saw him face real resistance, guys in the U.S. that knew how to wrestle a little bit, I saw him get taken down. I saw him get mounted. I saw him get flat backed, like a couple of things that were really concerning. That being said, you know, he was able to scramble back up to his feet and then make the guy pay. So I thought that McVeigh, a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a guy with a big frame, a guy who's very comfortable working in the clinch, could have had an opportunity to get a hold of the guy and then, you know, wrestle him to the ground. But it wasn't a big cage. So that was what made it a little bit interesting for me. I would have been on McVeigh's sub, if anything, just because I felt like that was his clearest path to a victory in that fight. So shout out to you for the question. Cade says, Charles lost an extra half pound because he was too busy farming aura on social media with those clips of his arms and his team holding him up. That's hilarious, man. Is there a way I could check who is reffing tomorrow? Let me see. Refs, UFC 317. Let's see if it comes up. Yeah. Okay. So we'll go through this as well, guys. I just found this from MSN.com. So for the title fight, we've got Ilia Topuria taking on Charles do Bronx Oliveira. Mark Goddard will be the referee in charge of the action. Derek Cleary, Sal D'Amato, and Chris Lee are the judges. So hopefully we will not be seeing the judges because Dirty Sal and the gang have already pre-written the cards. So next up, guys, we got Herb Dean is going to be the referee for the co-main event of the evening between Pantoja and Kai Kara France. Wonder if he pump fakes a stoppage. Very possible. Mike Bell, Ben Cartledge, and Ron McCarthy. I'll just say, guys, none of the judges or referees are super exemplary, in my humble opinion, especially, you know, that we've discussed so far, but we'll see. Oh, damn, it's only for the title fights that they give us answers. So there you go. At least we got the title fights talked about for you guys. That's it for me, guys. I have to go write my article for Roto Grinders. Thank you to everybody for being here. God bless you all. I appreciate everybody for the support. Thanks to everybody who stopped by. If you have questions, comments, concerns that I did not get to in this stream, no problem. Hit me in the comment section down below. I will try and get back to as many people as possible. I'm very reactive and responsive to the comments as best as I can be. So if you ask a respectful question, you will always get a respectful answer from me. And also, guys, if you're looking for you know, something to do tomorrow, if you're looking for, you know, a little bit of an enjoyable stream where you can come by, maybe talk some bets, but also listen to some alternate commentary, things like that, I will be live tomorrow. I already have the stream up. You can find it on my channel. You can hit the bell for notifications. My guess is that I'll be going live tomorrow at about 7 p.m. Eastern. The card was supposed to start at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm guessing it'll be 7:30, 7:45, something like that, with the first fight being canceled. So I'm happy to go do a little bit of a pre-show, maybe go 45 minutes or something before the fights, and then we'll talk about the prelims. We'll go all the way until 10 p.m., and then I'll let you guys enjoy the main card on your own. But that's the plan for tomorrow. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you hit the bell for notifications on that stream. Otherwise, guys, God bless. Good luck. Enjoy the fights and come back next time. We're having all the same fun again. Thanks, everybody.